Good afternoon. Today's Tanya portion, we begin a continuation of the topic of the figurative circumcision of the heart in a person, so that his godly spark can shine forth. An arousal from above, if Hashem shows kindness from above, that is caused through an arousal from below, a person doing his own to connect to God. That even though a person cannot have persons has no real effect on what is the gift that he is getting from above, nevertheless he has to put in his own work in order to receive this downflow of divine energy upon him. Bechinas halas mayin nukvin, which is the level of the feminine waters, which is the arousal and the longing of the one who receives this arousal from above. Hamhavas keli hamshakas mayin duchrin hashefamina hamashpia. Yeah, I'm giving a shear.
No, I just read it. That's the only reason.
Oh yeah.
It's the only reason I recognize it.
Kamesha Amru Avesenu is equal to Vraka. Ain Tipa Yeredes Milamaila. Hulush Ain Ailen Kenegda Tipin. There is that no drop from above descends below without at least 2 drops being sent from above, meaning a person has to put in his own work in order to receive brachas from above. So therefore a person needs to remove from himself this foreskin over his heart and the coarseness that is covering over his heart, that causes his godly spark within him to be in exile. Bishus Machasis al Bechinas Nekudas Pinias Alev Shehi means Nekudas Alev He Bechinas Abbas Hashem Bechinas Laman Chayecha, that this covers over the person's spark, that is the level of the love that he has for Hashem. That is because of that he is his very life. Shehi begalas v'saibas olam hazeh shehem gam kein bechinas laman chayecha, that this love is in exile within him in the level of that, not that he's feeling the love that Hashem is his life, but his worldly desires become his life. God forbid. That is opposite of holiness. Knizkar le'el sheyeshnam devarim shekol chaye adam tulim behem v'ushku behem b'chol pnimius libe v'hainu asaras orla amura hi aydei nesinas tzedakah l'shem mimamene shehu maminhu chayusei. And how does a person get rid of the foreskin over his heart? He gives tzedakah, which is his very life, especially if. So we're going to see the Kafisha Rabbeinu Azakan Master Perak Lamed Zayin Shebechelik Rishon Shebechol Adam Kevin Shebemene Hu Yachol Liknes Davar Sheneisen Lechaye Nafshe Harsha B'Mamin Shehu Neisen L'Stako Hu Neisen Chaye Nafshe LeKodesh Baruch Hu, that the Alter Rebbe explains in the another part of Tanya, that when a person buys, the person gives tzedakah with money that he could have used to buy something that could have sustained his life. This means that he is giving his very own life to over to holiness, because he's, instead of using that money to save himself, he's using that to do a mitzvah by giving tzedakah. And especially when a time that a person does not have a lot of extra funds to be giving away so freely, and nevertheless he does the mitzvah of tzedakah, that he gives literally from his life, and then he doesn't even care about his tough situation that he's in, pays no attention to it. Upratus imhu nene migia kapov shehu chai mimachsrei uyimilachti she efshali osak behen b'hamim rabbis b'chinas nekudas pnimius alev me'am kedaliba kemina goyim b'iskeim ba'masa u'matin v'chai gavna. And this concept is more emphasized when the person actually works for his living, and he puts his entire being into sustaining himself and to doing his business affairs. And when he puts his entire being and he makes money and then gives it to tzedakah, he literally gives his life for his love for Hashem. Shubada Asek Bekach E Pam Arvia Kasvim Toikan Nakuda Pinimi Shali Bahare Ata Pam Shemifazer Migiyai Shaloi Lefi My Mode Vinason Lashem Besimcho Tu Levav. When a person gives, when he works for his money and he gives to God with happiness and a good heart, in a bezep paid nafshem mishachas dehayin shu paid bechinas bekudas pnimius levavei shahaisa ad lois shah bechinas galot shivya besecha klip gasa idaka. What he does is he redeems the spark of godliness which is within himself, that was previously in exile and captivity within the forces of the coarse forces of unholiness, and also the more subtle forces of unholiness. Kamesha kasu nikol mishmar nitzur libecha mishmar perus beis ha'asurim. Perus apasuk nikol mishmar natzur libcha hu shamor es libcha shalei ye nasim meiser begalus beseich haklipas atayvas. A person should, it says in the verse that a person should be careful of himself that he does not become exiled into prison, meaning that he falls into the worldly desires, and and locks up into prison, so to speak, his godly spark within him. Because now, until now, his heart was in exile and captivity. And now he is being redeemed by giving tzedakah from the external forces of unholiness. Gam kain loshin priya. Kamus b'le'el shal asaras klipa adaka taivas adakas nikras b'shem priya. Hare zet gam kain pirush mila priya. So he said above, before, the language of priya, which is the second part of a bris milah, that is the more thin covering over the bris that has to be removed, which represents the more subtle worldly desires. Inin priyas chayv shnischayev nishtabe lichitzenim shemarsu bay al nekudas pinimis lavavay. And then the very language of the word priyam is like a paying of a debt that he was responsible for, and that he was previously enslaved to the external forces that conquered over the godly spark within him. Nifdim nigalim al yidei tzedakah. That even though this is what the pasuk means when it says this, the verse says when that it's captor is the ones that were captive will be redeemed with tzedakah. That they will be that they were previously in captivity. The godly spark was previously in captivity within the person's body by it being going after its worldly desires, and now through tzedakah, when a person gives his tzedakah, he redeems and frees that godly spark within him to shine. End of today's Tanya portion.